Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, everybody. Today I'm going to rattle off the 10 movies I am most excited for in the year 2025. Starting out at number 10 is 28 Years Later, the follow-up to the 28 Days and Weeks Later films from years ago. I'm a big fan of the zombie genre, but what Danny Boyle did with those first two films was unlike anything else I've ever seen out of a zombie movie. It was so visceral and fast-paced in what is usually a slower-paced type movie. Zombies move very slow traditionally, especially in the George A. Romero films. So in this, where they're like these rabid, fast-paced monsters chasing after the people, it just added a new layer of fear on top of what was already a scary genre. And I mean, you got Aaron Taylor Johnson in there, Jodie Comer, Ralph Fiennes. It's a stacked cast, and I can't wait to come back to this world that he set up so many years ago. Coming in at number 9 is Wicked for Good, the follow-up to the wildly successful movie from just a couple months ago. This picks up right after the events of the first one, and you get to find out what happens to Elphaba and Galinda and what kind of further separates their friendship as sisters. But I know what's in store for all of us because I saw the Broadway play, and I know that the payoff here is exponentially high. So I am very excited to see this movie, especially after seeing the first one and having that being one of my top 10 films of 2024. And coming in at number 8 is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. How could I not be excited about this? I mean, Tom Cruise is pushing 60 and the dude's still doing his own stunts. In the last film, he literally drove a motorcycle off the back of a mountain and then skydived down onto a moving train where he then had a fist fight on said moving train. And the fact that it's all done practically without CGI or green screen, it's so much fun to watch. And the fact that this is his final mission, this is the last time we're ever going to see Ethan Hunt, how can I not be super excited to see this final one play out? And coming in at number 7 is the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake. There's really no words. I mean, Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite animated films of all time, so the fact that we're getting a live-action adaptation of it has me really excited. After seeing what they were able to do with Sonic in the Sonic films, where they were able to kind of bring this cartoonish character and present him in this live-action format, I'm excited to see that same thing done with Stitch. He's to this day one of the most iconic Disney animals of all time. I still quote him and send memes of him to my girlfriend every single day. He is always in my mind, so I'm just very excited to see this film. And coming in at number 6 is a film called Havoc starring Tom Hardy. Now, a bunch of you probably don't even know what this is or have heard that it's even coming out, but it's from the director of the Raid films, which is some of my favorite kung fu stunt work in movies in the last 20 fucking years. It's pretty much like the Judge Dredd film where a bunch of cops go into a building and they have to fight their way up to the top floor where they defeat the final bad guy. Plays kind of like a video game, but the stunt work and the fight scenes are so iconic that I can't wait to see that director come here and do a similar movie with Tom Hardy where he plays a cop fighting their way through a city essentially. I love fight scenes, I love action, and I love when it's done well, and the fact that he's here directing this film with Tom Hardy, who's like one of my top 10 favorite actors of all time, I just can't wait to see this movie. Coming in at number 5 is Mickey 17 starring Robert Pattinson. This is a new sci-fi epic comedy directed by Bong Joon-ho, who most recently did Parasite. Now, it's a double-hander because on one hand, I am excited to see this movie because of the success of Parasite and how much I love that film. But on the other hand, it just genuinely looks like a thought-provoking action epic science fiction film that's going to make you think, starring Robert Pattinson, whom I have a great appreciation for after I went through a marathon of watching all of his movies to try and change my mind about him as an actor, getting ready for him to be Batman, who's my favorite superhero of all time, because all I knew him from was Twilight, so I had to do a lot of work to get myself on a playing field where I was like, you know what, he's a good actor and I'm excited to see him as Batman. But in doing that, he wound up shooting up the list of people that I really like to watch outside of blockbuster movies because he's always picking really unique and deep roles. So I know if nothing else, I'm going to get a great performance out of him out of this, but I also just love the science fiction genre, and I don't want to go into too much what the movie's about. You should definitely watch a trailer if you haven't seen it yet, but super excited about that one. And coming in at number 4, because I am a
basic bitch,
Avatar: Fire and Ash. What can I say? One of the most successful movie franchises of all time. You know, the first one came out and just blew the doors off of what was possible in cinema with the 3D technology. Then we waited like, I don't know, fucking 10, 12, however many years it was to get the second Avatar. And a lot of people going into it were doubting that it was going to be any good because of how long it took. And, you know, that train has come and gone. No one's going to care about Avatar anymore. And then the movie makes $2.3 billion fucking dollars, and clearly people still care. And with every movie James Cameron is creating new technology for the movie. So you're always getting something new, and we haven't seen him take on fire before. So I am really excited to see what he does there in that realm. And I'm also just super invested in this family and their story. And from what I'm told, eventually, if these movies continue, we're eventually going to get to see them go to Earth, and that just blows my mind, and I want to see that happen. And coming in at number 3, Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan, directed by Ryan Coogler. This is essentially Ryan Coogler's version of a vampire epidemic, and I am fucking here for it. Anything that Ryan Coogler touches is gold. I don't care what anyone says about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Given the circumstances of what he had to work with, he was able to make something so heartfelt and profound, even though they lost their lead character in Chadwick Boseman. Anything this guy does is incredible, whether it's Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther, and now he's tackling horror vampirisms with Michael B. Jordan wielding Tommy guns. Fuck yeah, I love horror, I love vampires, I love violence, I love Ryan Coogler, I love Michael B. Jordan. This is just a recipe for success for me, and I can't wait to see it. And coming in at number 2 is the live action How to Train Your Dragon. I can't express how much I love the animated versions of these. It's essentially, depends on who you ask, a story about a boy and his dog or a boy and his cat. The fact that people can make that argument is a testament to how good this movie is. Over the course of these 3 films, we watched this boy bond with this dragon and become like brothers, essentially, and it's just how I feel when I look at my dog and how I feel like our relationship and dynamic is. I see so much of my dog Chewbacca in Toothless, and by the end of the last animated film, I was weeping when ultimately what happens. I don't want to spoil it here if you haven't seen it, but it is a very happy, sad ending for the trilogy. And now that we're getting it in live action, look, I love cartoons. I do. I watch a lot of anime. I watch Batman the Animated Series. I watch every new Batman cartoon that comes out. I'm not saying I don't like animation, but I do prefer live action, and I'm glad that one of my favorite animated movie trilogies is getting that same treatment. I think they're going to do a really good job, especially because Gerard Butler is coming back as Hiccup's father. That is like the perfect casting, and he was already the voice of him in the animated series. The director of the animated trilogy is actually directing this one, so it's just, I can't imagine it's going to be bad. He's just giving us the same thing he did already in live action. If you liked the original animated movie, this is going to be that, just a live action version of it. So I am very excited for this film, and I love, again, I think Sonic really paved the way for live action remakes and how to adapt those animated characters into live action, where you make them live action enough where you could see very specific details on them, like Toothless's scales and whatnot, but you keep the overall look of them the same. I remember when Sonic was first coming out, they tried to make him look more realistic, and it was this nightmare, hell-inducing image of a hedgehog, and people complained so much that they went back and they changed the design to make him look more like the animated video game character, and it seems like that's what all these other movies are doing to their animated live-action remakes, where they're just making them look exactly the same, but just a little bit more realism to it. I'm rambling on at this point, but needless to say, I am very excited about this because at the end of the day, it's a story about a boy and his dog, and I have a dog, and I love my dog. What can go wrong? Also, that soundtrack in How to Train Your Dragon is inspiring. Every time I hear it, it makes me want to go out and do things I'm not capable of just because I want to be able to achieve something. That's how much that music elevates my will, and I can't wait to see that also here in live action. And last but not least, coming in at number 1 is Superman, the reboot for the DCU, directed by James Gunn, starring David Cornsweet and Nicholas Hoult and Rachel Brosnahan. There's a slew of people in this movie. I'm not going to go down the list of everybody that's in it, but I am deliriously excited for this movie. Like, my hype is through the atmosphere. There is so much riding on this film because it's setting up an entire new universe. It's rebooting all of the DCU. We're gonna get a new Batman, a new Wonder Woman, new everybody. Everybody has been recast. Jason Momoa is back, but this time instead of Aquaman, he's playing Lobo, which I'm super excited about. It's essentially DC's version of Deadpool. Look, I liked the Man of Steel Superman film a lot, actually. I really did. I loved the score. I loved the fight scenes. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. But something that movie was missing was the hope that Superman is usually, about. In the Christopher Reeves movies, everything was brightly colored because he was supposed to feel safe and okay when he was around, and the desaturated, monochromatic look of the Man of Steel stuff made the world seem very bleak. But here, you see that guy flying across the sky with a light blue suit on, the big bright red S on his chest. You feel like help is on the way, and the trailers here really set it up to be exactly that. You get the shot of the little boy holding up the flag, hoping that Superman sees it and comes and saves the day. You get shots of Krypto coming. Again, I own a dog, so you're always gonna win my heart if you present a dog to me in a movie and you give him superpowers. That's doubling down on the fuck yeah of it all. A lot of people complain that they don't like Superman because of how overpowered he is and how he pretty much just is invincible. So I love the fact that this trailer started off showing us him in a weakened, beaten state to show he's just as human as the rest of us, even though he does have superpowers and he can get his ass kicked. And it makes the threat that he's going up against all that more intimidating. And if this movie is successful, and then Superwoman comes out and that's successful, and then Batman comes out and that's successful, then guys, we have two universes as comic book fans that we could show up to and watch and be entertained by, and it's just an embarrassment of riches. I love the fact that we could have a good Superman movie, and then a couple weeks later we go right into the Fantastic Four and we have a great Fantastic Four movie, and then we have Avengers movies and Justice League movies. I love Marvel, I love DC, Batman is my favorite superhero of all time, and we have gotten a Justice League movie.
It wasn't that great.
I just want a Justice League movie that everyone rallies behind and gets just as excited as they did for the first Avengers. I've never gotten that, and this is the closest I'm going to get to it. It seems like James Gunn knows what he's doing. He knows how to handle this character. He loves these characters. He grew up reading these comic books. And the fact that so much rides on this film is what has me on the edge of my seat about it. As I said before, my hype cannot be any higher for this film. I am over the moon excited to see this film. I've watched the trailer like 400 fucking times since it dropped. It just looks so good. And again, I hope it's successful so we get the cinematic universe that the DC fans so desperately deserve. Anyway, guys, it took a long time to really, narrow this down because I am excited for a lot of movies. And yes, it's the basic bitch in me that picks all of the blockbusters, of course, with the exception of a couple like Mickey 17 and Havoc that aren't like these big mainstream type movies. But there were a lot of other films on my list that I'm going to throw into a quick honorable mention. Let's see, so we have Jurassic World Rebirth, Fantastic Four, Ballerina, a John Wick spinoff, The Gorge, Warfare, Zootopia 2, Nobody 2, Elio, Thunderbolts, Happy Gilmore 2, Valiant 1, Wake Up Dead Man, F1, Edgar Wright's The Running Man starring Glenn Powell, The Accountant 2, The Naked Gun, Predator Badlands, Popeye the Slayer Man, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Heart Eyes, Bambi, The Reckoning, A24's The Legend of Ochi, Pinocchio's Unstrung, Hooniverse, Monsters Assemble, Mickey's Slay House, and the new superhero action adventure film you've all been dying for, The Bunny Man. So yeah, guys, that's my list for the year of 2025, all the movies I'm excited for, some honorable mentions, and of course, a ton more that's just way too long to address here. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you guys. What films are you most excited for this year? Drop some comments down below and we'll talk about it. Maybe we have some similarities. Maybe my list is way different than your list, but that's okay. No list is the right list. It's just our list. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, I'll catch you next time.